Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 19 of Dungeon Meshi. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so last we left off, the group managed to fight off these doppelgangers and all that, but they've now encountered this little critter here. And I guess this person was one of Shiro's retainers, I guess, but I'm pretty sure she was wearing a mask or something before. So I guess, she wants help, I suppose, being, the victim of black magic. Ooh, a cat girl. Okay. Alright, so, I'm not sure what I expected, but this certainly wasn't it. I mean, yeah, wow. Okay, so creatures like this aren't natural, they're engineered by means of black magic, so understandably, Elias is thinking about it. Okay, so whatever's going on here, there's a spell that requires the spellcaster to touch it every so often, and without it, she'll die. So she wants these spells undone rapidly. However, yeah, I don't know, this is a difficult situation because this necessitates messing around with black magic, which Marcel really shouldn't be doing. And at the same time, you know, there's an intimation that by not undoing the spell, they'll all sort of die in the conflagration. You know, conflagration not necessarily being the right word for it, but there will be consequences. I guess speaking of consequences, she just ate, like, dehydrated food dry, which, you know, not advisable. It's like eating saltine crackers and only that. So I guess, seeing as how she wants a meal, she's in the right place. You know, I can't imagine anybody could make a better meal in the dungeon than Senshi, but at the same time, you know, there's also this sort of, like, demanding aspect to it, where I think, yeah, a bit of humility and gratitude would go a lot longer. Ooh. Interesting. You know, the idea that without much in the way of ingredients, Senshi can only make this, you know, comparatively bland meal. Oh, a risotto. A risotto is not bad. And Okay, yeah, there we go. It's like, you think I'd eat that stupid food? Oh, wait, that smells kind of good. Yeah. That's, interesting table manners, I guess, or lack thereof. You know, like, they're sort of like chalking all this up to the cat girl being Shuro's retainer or something like that, but I feel like that doesn't adequately explain things, you know? I think this is more indicative of being a monster, or partially a monster. I mean, to just sort of waste food like that, like removing the mushrooms. Like, I get eating around the mushrooms, but to waste food like that so brazenly... Alright, yeah, you know, you've messed with the dwarf. That's not advisable. I feel like, he's gonna crack her on the head with that ladle. You know, it's like, alright, behave properly, pick up the mushrooms. Alright, go Senshi. You know, he's managed to save the cat girl from the magic spell, if only so he can, teach her proper etiquette. Yeah, you know, I like how everybody's just sort of ignoring this sort of evil spirit that's materialized out of the magic runes. And yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like, I don't know how they're gonna handle something like this without Marcel intervening, I guess, but she's not really doing anything. So, I guess it is kind of interesting that Senshi's offering a bit of cooking advice with the combat application. You know, the black magic curse demon, or whatever you'd call it, is using, like, a knife not suited to, its task, so to speak, and therefore you can break the blade. You know, that's interesting. That's good information to have. Wow. I mean, good on them for managing to fight off this black magic apparition, but, shame on Marcel for not doing anything. Man, I feel like, you know, for a creature who's come to the aid of the party, or come to the party for aid, rather, saying, like, can you help me with this magic spell? And Senshi, of all people, was pivotal to its undoing. Like, man, Dwarf Bros, we win again. But, you know, I feel like that should, clear any bad blood, you know? Man, so it really does seem like Marcel using black magic was, like, the worst decision of all time, because it's brought about this circumstance, too. And, you know, maybe the creature is, overestimating how much Marcel can actually do, but... Yeah, I mean, case in point, she's saying, like, you're trying to break the curse on that woman, that must mean you know how to break curses. But, I mean, their goal is to break the curse, not that they know how to do it. So I guess the question remains, you know, do they get a new party member, or, like, is this just, an ally of convenience sort of situation? Yeah, you know, it's interesting that we're sort of getting into the metaphysics of the dungeon again and how souls work within it and all that. Oh. Okay, so was Marcel aware that this whole thing was a fool's errand? That, to use her analogy of the eggs, two yolks within one shell, they mix together, they can't be separated. Like, wow, okay. So that definitely changes the tone here. Because if they can't save Fallen, then, they've got to put her down for good, which, may or may not be easy. Wow, okay. Oh, Elias. Are you being weird with the cat girl? I mean, it's an interesting anthropological thing, I guess, seeing, like, a creature like this and noticing what differences there are and what similarities there are to normal people, but, maybe it's not the right thing to say, I guess. I mean, at least Lias and Senshi are trying to take a positive approach here. It's like, you might not have your curse broken, but like, you might have tentatively made new friends, and here, have some more risotto. Yeah, okay. So they want a new party member, I guess. It wouldn't hurt for them to recruit Izutumi. Was that it? I think that's what the subtitle said. Oh dear. Went by real quickly. But, yeah, a new party member wouldn't be a bad thing. So I'm wondering, like, is this just a bad dream? Alright, so this is kind of interesting. Lias is seemingly wallowing in his insecurities where he is, I guess, effectively not very good at everything and kind of naive. Yeah, thinking about it, he's really taken a bit of a beating lately. But I'm wondering if this is maybe, the work of some monster that feeds off of memories or something like that. I wouldn't be entirely surprised. Now, I'm wondering why precisely Marcel's so tired, because, like, what did she do, really, that was so strenuous, compared to the others, at least? Marcel protests a little too much. Oh, I'm not tired at all. Bam. Out. But that said, she seems to be suffering. Okay, so there we go, like a monster that inflicts nightmares. And seemingly to the point where it could prove fatal. Wow. Okay, so these are real dangerous monsters where I guess the only solution is you have to go in the dream and fight it in there. So for just Lias to go in, I feel like it might be better for this to be a group activity. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. He went in to help Marcel and he sort of fell victim to it himself until he remembered. That is interesting where it's one of those things, it's a, what do you call it? A lucid dream, where, like, once you become aware that you're dreaming, it's like, oh yeah, this is all happening in my mind. I'm in control now. Ooh. Alright, so we're getting real surreal here. And I guess it kind of goes without saying, but like, if you're venturing into someone else's dream, then they're in control here, and if they're not currently lucid, then You know, the dream is operating at the whims of their subconscious, which, you know, doesn't always behave nicely. I mean, for Marcel's subconscious to essentially be this, like, black and white library, like, that's gotta be indicative of something. And the fact that it's so, I guess, kind of, scary, for want of a better term. Like, there's definitely a reason why it's black and white here rather than in color, and I think it's kind of to evoke, well, like a little bit of terror, you know, like, you know, maybe by making things like less distinct, it becomes more scary, you know? It's one of those things where your mind does the heavy lifting. Alright, so I'm of two minds about this, because on the one hand, Laius is coming in here to help, and so help he must. But at the same time, you know, I don't think you should just sort of, like, fight the monster willy-nilly without sort of ascertaining what's going on first. I mean, that is certainly a gnarly creature. I mean, just looking at it, that doesn't seem like one monster. That seems like a horrifying mishmash of a bunch of things. Not like the usual horrific mishmash that represents a chimera, but like something even worse. So I guess I'm wondering if this is, to Marcel, some sort of like platonic ideal of what a monster is. You know, not one monster specifically, but just like an amalgamation of monsters. I mean, Laius seems to be trying to come up with a taxonomy for it so they can fight it, but I don't know if that's necessarily, you know, a workable solution. Yeah, I mean, just looking at all those, like, little tendrils and things like that, it's not just one thing, you know? Ooh. Okay, so the monster appears to have aged him when it reached out and touched him. And yeah, like, that is old age, right? That's not just, like, melting flesh. Oh. Ooh, to have your teeth fall out like that, that's bad. But I'm wondering if this is sort of, like, endemic of, or how do I want to phrase this? Like, Marcel's a half-elf, right? Half-elves still live a long time, but, humans don't. And so I'd imagine, you know, whether she likes it or not, and almost certainly she wouldn't, like, everybody she knows now, presently, she will outlive. And that's gotta be a tough pill to swallow, you know? Okay, and I guess, yeah, that makes sense that Marcel would still feel guilty, too, about Fallen. I mean, Laius sort of concludes that she's afraid of death, which, you know, who isn't? But at the same time, I don't think that's quite it. I think it's more so she's afraid of death for what it does to other people. Yeah, unfortunately, I think Laius is probably not a very good choice of people to help out here. So, I mean, like, the idea here is that the monster's sucking up Laius, and only Laius, really. And, you know, that's the idea here. Like, the monster eats the people she cares about, but not her, because, you know, they're human or otherwise not as prone to longevity. Yeah, so it's being it's being framed as though these people are giving up on her, but it's not the case. You know, well, I mean, it is the case they can't keep up with her, but through no fault of their own. It's just what happens when you get old. You know, it's unfortunate that she hasn't really come to terms with this. You know, being an elf, one would think you kind of learned this fairly early on, but... Well, I guess we don't know how old Marcel is. She certainly doesn't look old, but with elves you can never tell. I guess the idea here is, maybe she's young enough to start outliving people, but not old enough to really understand... Well, to not really understand, I guess. You know, the true gravity of the situation. Man, that thing really is a scuttling horror. And, you know, that is interesting. Like, I guess the idea here is that Laius didn't have anything in his dream, but Marcel does, and therefore she has, if nothing else, some form of ammunition she can use to fight off the monster herself. So I feel like this is operating on two levels here. You know, wish for the book, Marcel, you know, in terms of the dream. You know, it is your dream, you can fight off the monster, but I'm wondering if this is Laius sort of effectively kind of telling her, you know, study more dark magic so you can undo all the stuff that's happened. Yeah, you know what? I don't think that's any accident that it was all black and white except for the book, and then she whacked the monster and it turned into color. That's pretty cool. You know, I like it when you mess around with black and white and color meaningfully. Now, I guess the question is, does everybody remember this? Because, like, I'm sure Laius would, but yeah. There we go. Marcel forgot. I guess it's kind of unfortunate, but it might be for the best. Otherwise, things would be kind of embarrassing. Oh, okay. So the monsters had snuck in there, but... Okay, I was wondering if Laius put them in there. Because, like, surely he couldn't have. And now they're gonna eat them. You know, I guess it's what those little critters deserve. You know, this is what you get for trying to infest my dreams. So, unfortunately, despite saying they're related to dragons, they do look like oysters, and that's like... I can't abide by that. Seafood is no good for me. But, like, oysters especially, they just... Man, they don't look appetizing no matter how you cook them. And I guess it's interesting that, you know, everybody gets to see the dream now that they had been feasting on. And interestingly, it seems like a nice dream. Which... Yeah, you know, this almost seems like an editorialization of the dream. Like Marcel and a dog going on a treasure hunt, which... I mean, kind of, I suppose. Laius turned into a dog to dig down into Marcel's dream. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.